Betrayal Beyond Belief. My sister sabotaged my wedding with a vicious lie. The date is seared into my memory, May 14th. It should have been my wedding day. A celebration of love and commitment. Instead, it became the day my world fractured. All thanks to one shocking revelation: my own sister, Deanna, had fabricated cheating allegations against my fiancé, Lucas, in a twisted attempt to destroy my happiness. I need to know if I reacted the right way to all of this. Let me tell you about Deanna. She's the family's bad apple. The one who always seemed to fall short. Or rather, actively sabotage her own life and, more recently, mine. Growing up, my parents, especially my mother, constantly lamented her failures, her grades, her lack of direction. Everything. She was always comparing herself to me. And when I succeeded, she saw it not as inspiration, but as a personal attack. For years, I defended her, believing she just needed more love and understanding. Now I see that my parents might have been right all along. Unlike Deanna, I was always a driven, understanding child. School wasn't my passion, but fashion was. I devoured designs online, meticulously recreating them. My father recognized my talent and encouraged me to apply to fashion school. That single act kick-started my career. After graduation, I left Seattle for New York, eager to build a new life. I thought my move would inspire Deanna to finally take her own life seriously. But I was wrong. Tired of my mother's nagging, Deanna unexpectedly showed up at my doorstep. She's my sister, and I couldn't abandon her. Or so I thought. Family was important to me. Apparently not to her. Instead of pursuing a career or any meaningful endeavor, Deanna spent her days binge-watching reality TV and her nights clubbing with superficial friends. I tried to subtly nudge her towards financial independence, but she seemed to think I was her personal ATM. She also had Frederick, her wealthy, on-again off-again boyfriend, to foot her bills. I initially thought she had moved in to escape our parents, but the truth was far more calculated. Frederick's father's company was opening a new branch in New York. My sister couldn't bear to be without him. But because of the company's quarters, the only option she had was showing up at my door. Which is what brought me here. She's been freeloading for 2 years. But the real issue began with Lucas. I had always believed I was destined to be unlucky in love. My high school boyfriend used me for popularity. My college boyfriend cheated relentlessly. Seeing my parents' unwavering love and support, I craved that kind of connection. Then I met Lucas. He was the sweetest, kindest, most genuine man I had ever known. We met in New York. It wasn't just another handsome face in a city overflowing with them. It was something deeper. Our first conversation revolved around our sibling stories. Lucas caught me muttering to myself in a grocery store aisle, struggling with the pronunciation of some obscure ingredients. He chuckled and confessed he was going through the same ordeal, shopping for his younger sister, Ellie. He even accompanied me for the rest of my shopping. And as we spoke, I was struck by our shared values and experiences. He disclosed that Ellie had suffered an assault the previous year and now struggled with agoraphobia. Lucas was doing everything he could to support her. I was beyond impressed. A whirlwind of romance ensued. And on May 23rd of the previous year, we officially became a couple. It was the most effortless, beautiful relationship I had ever experienced. Lucas even tried to be nice to Deanna, buying her chocolates and designer bags. But she remained indifferent, even disrespectful. I confronted her, telling her I loved her but promising that nothing would ever cause me to abandon Lucas. I thought that my sister would carry the same love and respect I had for her, but I was wrong. It turns out Deanna was just feeling insecure, knowing our relationship was growing serious. A few months later, Lucas proposed. I said yes. Everyone was thrilled. Even my mom, who had joked that I would end up with a house full of cats. Little did I know, this happiness was about to be brutally shattered. Deanna had concocted a malicious plan to destroy my engagement. On that fateful day, I arrived at Lucas's apartment, excited for cake tasting with my best friend, Bonnie. Instead, I walked into a nightmare. I found Lucas with his hands all over my sister. He appeared drunk, or perhaps drugged. Deanna tearfully explained that she had been trying to apologize to Lucas for her past behavior. She claimed Lucas had been making unwanted advances and showed me handwritten letters, supposedly from Lucas. One of them read, "I fantasize about your body. I desperately want to sleep with you. I hope marrying your sister will open a door for our romance. God, I want you." I was devastated. I had no reason to believe Deanna would lie about something like this. I stormed out, completely heartbroken. Bonnie urged me to hear Lucas's side of the story when he sobered up, and I reluctantly agreed. When he showed up at my house later, after I had ignored his calls and texts, I slapped him across the face. I was disgusted by his feigned innocence as he read the letters. His face turned red. He claimed Deanna had unexpectedly arrived at his apartment with wine and dessert, wanting to mend fences. Lucas said the wine tasted odd, almost like it was spiked, and he realized that after the first sip and drank it all. He said Deanna had forced him to finish the bottle. Diana overpowered him after a while, and he doesn't remember what happened next. He denied writing the letters and swore he never wanted anything to do with Deanna. I didn't believe him. I was furious, telling him I wasn't falling for his victim act. Lucas pleaded with me to reconsider, but I was done. I broke off the engagement. Lucas continued to call and text, relentlessly trying to convince me of the truth, maintaining that he had nothing to do with Deanna. But I just wanted it all to end. Everyone asked me what had happened between Lucas and me. I could have easily thrown Lucas under the bus and said he was using me to get to Deanna, but I couldn't do that to him. Eventually, Lucas stopped reaching out, and I heard he had taken a trip to clear his head. A part of me desperately wanted him to fight for me, but I knew it was over. I'm not one to give second chances anymore. Then, a few weeks later, Deanna's own life began to unravel. Her relationship with Frederick, her on-again off-again boyfriend, was as volatile as ever. Despite her attempts to meet other people, they always gravitated back to each other, engaging in screaming matches and throwing things. I was used to it. One night, while Bonnie and I were drinking to numb my pain, we overheard Deanna and Frederick arguing. Deanna was demanding a ring and complaining about being pressured because of her age. Frederick blurted out something about how she never loved her sister. And that is when I knew the truth. I was intrigued. I wanted to know what he was talking about. Bonnie tried to stop me, but I couldn't resist. I burst into the room and demanded answers. Deanna went crazy and increased her voice. "I don't care if you wanted to give her the world. I am the one man to get married early. I am the one who is old enough to. Just because she has a house and a career doesn't mean she deserves to have something that I cannot have. Like, what is wrong with this girl?" It sounded as though my sister had been resentful towards me. I had to know what they meant. Frederick's face was red, and my heart was pounding. I called her a hypocrite. He glanced at Deanna, waiting for her to explain. Deanna was shaking, speechless. Frederick then dropped the bombshell. Deanna had lied about Lucas. He revealed that he had paid a sketch artist to forge Lucas's handwriting for those letters. He said he did it because Deanna begged him to help her break my engagement. Deanna pounced on Frederick, but he pushed her away and confessed everything. Usually, I would have intervened, but I was beyond caring. I had been living a lie. My sister was not the angel I had always believed her to be. I bombarded her with questions, and the argument almost turned physical. She screamed that she didn't care about me or my life, that she had only been using me because she was a failure. I chased both of them out of my house. Bonnie took me to her apartment, where I spent the next week in tears. Bonnie picked up my essentials from my apartment and insisted I stay with her for a few weeks. I'm not sure if Deanna has left the house or not, but at this point, I don't care. I'm worried about getting back to Lucas, but I don't even know if an apology would fix anything. Update 1. On days like this, I wish I was a crazy person who could lash out without remorse. They say people eventually feel bad about their actions, but Deanna hasn't shown an ounce of remorse for how I felt. Bonnie said she always knew Deanna harbored malicious intentions toward me, that the sisterly love I felt was sadly one-sided. After hearing the truth, my first instinct was to find Lucas and explain everything. Bad luck struck again. I found Lucas in the company of a woman I recognized as his ex, someone he had talked about often. They could never be together because of her parents' issues. It seemed they were reconciling. I considered approaching him, telling him about Deanna's schemes, apologizing profusely, but it was too late. Lucas understood why I hadn't believed him. How the circumstances had seemed so damning. He needed to leave town for a while to cope with what happened. It seemed he was moving on to bigger and better things. I was back at square one. Alone. I know I might sound evil, but I can't help but feel vindictive. I want Deanna to suffer the way I did. She moved out of the house after I returned from Bonnie's place, but I want to destroy her. Update 2. I guess I should start this with an apology. I've been going through a lot. Last month was supposed to be my wedding day. Lucas, who is now seeking healing. I've been wallowing in sadness, ignoring calls from work and everyone around me. My pillows were constantly wet from tears. And Deanna. Oh, Deanna was busy asking for money for her shopping spree. A shopping spree. While my life was practically ruined. Where was her humanity? She said the money she had saved wasn't sufficient to afford the things she needed. Things she was entitled to. Because she deserved them. I thought about a million ways to make my sister pay for her wickedness. But nothing came to mind. Then, it dawned on me. Money was Diana's world. That's why she wanted to get married. To have the best clothes and the latest styles in the world. She didn't care if the world was ending. The money in her account was all that mattered. You should have seen her when I said I was cutting her off. She screamed like a spoiled child throwing a tantrum. Diana did not give up. She tried to get money from my bank account and even tried to cash a check. I was quicker. I called the bank to restrict her from accessing my funds. Diana didn't plead. At least not at first. She still maintained her pride. So, I decided to give her a taste of her own medicine. She claimed she needed the money to pay for something important. That she had broken up with Frederick and had no one else to turn to. After so many years of providing for her. My older sister, who was meant to support me and take care of me, had ruined my life. She broke up my engagement simply because she wanted to get married first. After a week, she said she was so desperate for money that she tried to reconcile with Frederick. However, Frederick dumped her because he had apparently found love with someone else. I wanted Diana to feel even half of what I felt. Diana pleaded that he reconsider and think about the years that they had been together. He eventually left her. What goes around comes around. It was the first time I had seen her beg so much. I was almost concerned. But then I thought it was just an act. She asked if she could move in with me again. I told her I could no longer support her in any way after what she had done to me. I told her that was all I could do for her for the sake of humanity. Neither will I be able to forgive her until I move on. It's been a month since I last saw her. Last week, my mom called. She said Diana was getting what she deserved. She's currently working as a salesman in a showroom. And her boss is giving her a hard time. Of course. No one wants a lazy employee. As for me, I don't know when I'll be able to move on. Wish me luck. Now, I wanted to tell you another story. Story 2. I caught my wife cheating with her boss's husband. My wife and I met at the Burning Man festival. At the time I just graduated college and started a full-time job in Nevada. She lived and worked in Colorado. I realized I never wanted to stop talking to her. I felt myself falling for her and wishing we lived closer. We exchanged numbers and started talking as soon as the festival ended. We maintained a long-distance relationship for a year before she asked me to move in with her. I found a job in her state and packed my bag. It was only another year before I bought a house and proposed to her. Neither of us had more than 2 family members that kept in touch. So we had a small wedding ceremony with. Our marriage was just what I wanted and expected it to be. I was convinced I had met the coolest, most suitable and exciting woman I could find. I wanted to love her forever. And she said the same to me. Before I moved in with her, she wasn't a very tidy person, but by the time we moved into her house, she was a wonderful housekeeper and a woman worthy of being a wife. She also really enjoyed her full-time job. I heard a lot of great things about Tiffany. Tiffany gave my wife her opportunity to rise up, and that is why she could hire people. My wife was there for her and proved herself to be an excellent employee. Since my wife was there from the start, she made a generous salary. I never met Tiffany, but my wife and her went out together every once in a while. To blow off work steam, they'd say. About 4 years after we were married, my wife started holding on to it or keeping it in her pocket, and in more than she used to. I seriously doubted this meant anything bad. She always was. Looking back on it, on one ordinary Friday evening, she texted me that she was going out with Tiffany. I replied that I would meet my brother for dinner and see her at home by 9. I left the house to meet with him. I returned home and went straight to the bathroom before turning any lights on while I was in there. I heard the front door open and to voices I turned off the bathroom light and listened. I heard my wife giggle and open the back sliding door. Then I heard a man's voice. I watched them from within the shadows of the house. They stripped off their clothes and jumped in the pool and having sex. His last name sounded familiar. I got in my car and drove to his house. I knocked on the door and was greeted by a gorgeous woman. At my house with my wife? She didn't want to believe it at first. She started cursing and grabbing anything of his to throw outside. I didn't really want to, but I also didn't want to go home. He arrived home, and his wife handed him his is it. His jaw dropped, frustrated and embarrassed. His wife kicked him out right in front of me. I wanted to leave, but she took a moment from yelling to ask me to stay. Once he was out of the house, she sat down with me and apologized for what on behalf of her husband and my wife. We got to talking, and it didn't take long for me to realize this was Tiffany. This was my wife's best friend and boss. I freaked out. She could not believe it. She called my wife and told her she needed her to come over right away. When she got there, telling her she just cheated on me with her best friend's husband. My wife freaked out. She looked at me and pleaded for me to believe that this was just a meaningless mistake. She said they had met at a bar, and that he wasn't wearing a ring. Tiffany said even if my wife didn't know he was her husband, my wife was broken in that instant. She didn't know what to do with herself. She just kept pleading with empty words. I told her to move out of my house. Tiffany invited me back inside. She screamed after us, and even banged on the door. Eventually, she was moved out of my house. And the divorce was final. She was a huge waste of my time, but if it weren't for her, Tiffany, Alexis didn't stay together. After their relationship was based entirely on fleeting emotions, infatuation, and excitement. So after hearing everything, did I handle the situation with Deanna correctly? Should I have forgiven her? Should I have tried harder to make things right with Lucas? What would you have done in my shoes? I am anxious to get your opinion.